walk by the Spirit. So there's a new way for you to live, walking by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. So Paul doesn't say that just because you're walking by the Spirit doesn't mean you're never going to have any ungodly desires. Hold on to that. That's important. What's true for every believer in Jesus Christ is that we have the Holy Spirit of God living in us. We have the power to choose not to sin. This doesn't mean that this happens automatically, like God just makes us stop sinning. That's not what that means. But as we learn to choose to walk by the Spirit, we no longer have to live as if we're only human, we're only the flesh. Just as Jesus was full of the Holy Spirit, like we read of in Luke chapter 4, verse 1, when he faced and resisted the devil's temptations, we too can now resist temptation with the Holy Spirit empowering us. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. So he's not saying your problem is that you're not in Jesus. He's saying to people who are in Jesus by faith, he's saying to them, you have to learn to walk by the power of the Spirit. It's not automatic. They are in conflict with each other. The desires that you have that are just part of being human might not be godly desires, but you get a Holy Spirit empowered choice about whether you're going to obey them or not. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. There's that tension. What's natural is for us to gratify the desires of our flesh, the things that we would do without caring whether or not God has anything to say about it. But because of what Jesus did, and because of what we have in the Holy Spirit living in us, we can live in Spirit-empowered ways for Him. So because we're born into a sinful, broken world, we are born with sinful, broken desires. But just because you have desires, just because we have desires, does not mean that they're good. I was born with a desire for sex with women. Last week I kind of joked and I said like only for Kelsey. But the truth is that's not true actually. I was born with a desire to have sex with women. But nowhere in the Bible does God give me the freedom to have sex with anyone other than the woman I am married to. I may not have sex before I'm married, or that's sin. I may not have sex with a woman other than Kelsey. I may not look at pornography. I may not fantasize about women other than my wife. Some people, like me, have a desire to sleep with people of the opposite sex. God says only within marriage. Some people have a desire to sleep with people of the same sex. And since same-sex marriage became legal in the USA in 2015, does that mean that's okay now? Is it possible that you were born with a desire that God says don't act on? And if so, why? Maybe you need to discover what so many Christians have discovered, that God has something more fulfilling for you than for your sexual desires to be acted upon. Just because you have a desire for something doesn't mean God calls you to do that thing. What matters most for Christians is not how we were born, but how our new life gives us the power to live in a new way. Because of Christ and the Holy Spirit, His desires overrule our desires. When we walk by the Spirit, the desires of the flesh do not hold power over us. Anybody who says, look, these are the desires that I feel in my body. But I'm going to live by the Spirit. And because of what God says, I'm going to live by what God says by the power of Jesus. Those are the people that I want to celebrate. They've learned what I'm going to talk about next week, that sex is not God's ultimate fulfillment for you.